think we'll start like this, huh? Okay, no problem. Just thought it'd be a little more personal if it's you know, excellent, excellent, excellent. Excellent. Okay. Welcome everyone, coaches in Romania and throughout the world. I want to say thank you to Marcel Tenter and friends at the Romania Basketball Federation for the opportunity to come on here and present a little clinic. With all the difficult times in the world, people with the sickness and coronavirus and limitations and things we can do. One of the positive things that have come out of all of this is the chance to watch coaches and watch clinics and try to learn. So as we've kind of downshifted from, the competitiveness of practices and preparation and getting ready for games and ramping up for the playoffs, I think it's nice time for coaches to, kind of go back to the learning part of it. And I'm very, very thankful to be here and talk with you guys and share some ideas about screening. So again, thank you to Marcel, Alin, for helping do all the connections here. Really appreciate it. As we move forward today, what we'd like to talk about are some coaching points that I like on both sides of the ball, offensively, defensively, that can help you with your teams, whether it's a high-level team or a youth-level team. I think playing without the basketball on both sides, offensively and defensively, is really important skill. Really understanding how to play, how to help your teammates get open, how to attack a defense, how to read it. So some basic coaching points. We'll talk about how coaches can use screens in their offense and when to use them. Talk about obviously creating advantages. Just some key points that we talk about in terms of two targets. And I think we'll look at some screens that I like to use within our offense in Poland and Hamburg. So we'll break down some of those options and some of those situations. And then we'll talk a little bit about drill work, when we get to the end of our offense. When we shift gears and go to the defensive side, it'll be more about coaching points and how to defend, or how we like to defend a lot of these screening situations. So the base part about defending off the ball screens, we call catch and shoot defense. We'll talk about defending wide pin downs, different ways, a couple key points there. Key points in defending double stagger screens, we call screen the screener Denver. We'll talk about that more later. And then defending flex. At the end of the presentation, I've got a short video with some good screening situations and some poor screening situations so that we can all analyze together. We'll go through it as best we can. And then if there's any questions and answers and things, I'm happy to spend some time at the end. But again, I want to say I'm really appreciative of the chance to share some of these ideas with coaches. And I hope that you can pick up one or two things that get you thinking, that can help you, in your team with your players, and continue to develop the game. So we'll begin with some of our coaching points here that we like to emphasize offensively when we screen. The first thing we want to try to do when setting good, solid screens is to identify the defender to screen. And a lot of times that's easy in the offense because hey, I'm going to get my teammate open in the corner, or I've got to set a cross screen in this situation. And I think it's important that players understand, even as they're going through 5-on-0, it's important that you are not going to screen your offensive teammate, so you're not going to run straight into him and hit him. You are envisioning, mental imagery, using that imagery, you're going to go set a screen on your defender. So the point is, you have to understand where his defensive position will likely be and be ready to go set that screen. So as you identify that screener to defend, then you begin to set up the screen. So now you're talking about the approach and the angle that you're going to take. right? You're going to find your man. Now you're going to set up that screen, and we like to have certain positions on the floor where we want to screen. One of the places that we'll talk about is we call the Malone spot, and I'm not sure if you guys can really see closely here, but the point of the Malone spot is between the elbow and the corner, and it's that midpoint right there. So we like to set our screens on that Malone spot as much as we can, because that gives us a great space to use as we back cut, as we curl cut, as we fade, or as we try to stretch out the defense. That would be an example of finding a spot on the floor, a position on the floor where we want guys to screen. The next point we talk about is jump stop into the screen to settle. We want the big men to settle the screen. And again, using the screens as a user, it's important that we wait for the screen, set up the screen with patience. Once that screen is settled, now we're going to run off it. So before the screen's set, we're reading the defense. We're looking at the defender. Whether we're staring at him or using our peripheral vision, we're trying to create that advantage by understanding where he is. I know where my screen is coming. I'm setting him up. I'm reading him. We talk about that angle of the screen. We want the screen to be set with the screener's back to the area where we want the player to receive the basketball. If we're setting a back screen, we want to set that back screen solid contact with your back to the basket. If we're trying to pin him in, right, a sagging defense, now we're going to set that screen, pin the defender in with our back to where we want our teammate to receive the ball. That will create the big advantage. We want to set a screen with a wide, solid base and hold our position in contact. Again, it's very easy to be called for illegal screens. Most of the time, your illegal screens happen when the user goes too early. He doesn't have enough patience. We let the screen settle, and then it's on the screener. We're not throwing our elbow out. We're not sticking our foot out. Just stay nice, big, wide, solid, and then create the advantage. As we create the advantage, again, there's a couple ways. With a really solid screen that you're holding, or we're forcing the defender in a certain way. For example, if you're trying to set up a curl cut within your offense, you know the guy's going to lock and trail defensively. Now we want to take the screen with an angle that's forcing him outside. Maybe you don't hit him. Maybe you don't get the best contact that you want, but the fact that you're forcing him around the outside gives your offensive teammate an advantage. So the solid physical contact is preferred, but at least if you can force the defender in a way that helps your offensive player create an advantage, this is also a positive. In terms of creating advantage within our offense, we have terminology called blast and get. And this will be a big man setting a screen in blast. He will screen away for a wing or a guard. And then as that guard is receiving the screen, he's not really using the screen. He's going into a dribble handoff. So we're using the screen to create an advantage so that that defender is late at the point of attack in the dribble handoff. Our terminology for get would be the big man sets the screen, the guard receives the ball. He's not really reading it to attack off the screen, but we want to create an advantage so the defender on the ball is late because he had to fight through a screen. So again, using your screens in the offense, setting your screens with your angles to create good advantages, create that advantage that now your playmaker, your point guard, your two guard, they can now use the dribble handoff or use the pick and roll and have a bigger advantage, build on the advantage that they've created. Again, we talk about reading the defense. This is the most important thing to work on with young players. Again, your offensive screen is coming in a certain spot at a certain time. The key is slow down and read the defense. We talk about, for basic youth players, a two-step V-cut. When you're using the screen, set it up with a two-step V-cut. One step, and then on the second step is your V-cut. And as you're making your V-cut, reading your defender. Where is the defender? How is he playing me? Is he going to get into my body and lock and trail as I come around? Is he trying to get through? We call whip the screen. Will I have the opportunity to fade my cut? Or is he sitting on my top side, not letting me use the screen, denying it? Oh, now I can reject a screen and cut back door. So again, the reading of the defense starts with, I'm reading this defender on me in my two-step V cut. I'm now going to try to make my cut. And then the next point becomes engaging the big man defender to create my advantages. And then we'll talk about that as we move forward. But the point we want from each screen and the players working together are two targets. Whoever has the ball, reading the game, watching the action happen. We want them to have two targets, and we want the defense to have problems to guard it. So example, teammates working together. Here comes the wide pin. The guard curls it to the basket. The big man in this case, as he curls, how will he play? Will he stretch out the defense as a three-point threat? Or is he going to step to the dunker spot? The main point is, as we pressure and engage the big, now the big steps to help. You've got two on the ball. You need two targets, right? Hit the guard going to the basket, or we draw two. We hit the pop man wide open for an easy play. That gets us into a shot, or the next pass presents itself. We'll talk about ball movement as we go forward. So these are some of the basic key coaching points that we talk about in terms of setting screens. The next thing we talk about is the physicality in screening. We want to have unselfish offense. We want to have an unselfish team. Physicality, you can hammer the other team's best player. You can hit these guys physically within the rules and make it difficult for them. Again, you're playing hard, you're playing strong, you're playing physical, you're giving up your body. Screening is an unselfish play. We talk all the time about, here's an assist, here's a consecutive pass. We're pointing to our teammate because this guy gave us a great pass. Great pass, great pass. We've got to respect screening in the same way. We've got to encourage players to screen and be selfish in screening. Again, the NBA charting screen assists, charting screens that were attempted and missed. This is the next step in terms of your offense. So I would encourage all coaches to really dig in deeply and focus on the details of screening, right? Physicality, adding it to the offensive side, not only in the post-up game, but every position, every possession down the floor. Again, we just talked about reading the defense. Again, the first read is the defender guarding the user. The second one is the defender guarding the screener. And repetitions in the half court, 2-on-2 screening. We'll talk about that a little later. These are the ways that you can help these guys read and react to the game situation and play the game. Be hard to guard. One of the best ways I've heard, and this goes back to, again, we'll talk about this, the Bob Knight era motion offense, is find a partner to dance with. And we'll talk about this as we go a few slides ahead. But for me, I think it's important. Offensively, you recognize your partner. Here comes the screener. He's ready to come screen for me. I have to react in a way where I am helping him get a good angle and set up the screen. So we're going to work together. And that combination, that teamwork, I think has been really well defined in find a partner to dance with as you are playing off the ball, setting and using screens. So we just talked about Bob Knight era of motion offense. And so in my growing up in basketball, my dad was an assistant for Bob Knight at West Point. And our family were very big Bob Knight fans and really came up respecting, his style of play and the way the game was taught and coached. So in the 90s, playing in college, the offense and the offensive game at that time was a ball movement and player movement motion offense. Players learned to play without the ball. It was pass, cut, and screen. And it was when players catch the ball, they catch it and read the defense for 2 seconds. And there's a beauty to that style of play. I think most recently the San Antonio Spurs have gone more towards that era of basketball. But this modern era right now is different because it emphasizes the dribble drive, driving to the basket, attacking the rim. It emphasizes playing off penetration. And again, in the Bob Knight era, it was catch and read the defense for 2 seconds. Now it's the Spurs 0.5. Catch, move the ball, make a quick decision. But if we are always just catching and moving the ball and swinging it around with quick ball movement and the tempo of that ball movement, we miss the opportunity to play the screening game where we set and use screens and become hard to guard. Now, in the United States, the current modern style of play is all about individual skills. I've got the ball, I'm going to the basket, I'm going to dribble drive. But I think true team basketball is about ball movement, teamwork, right? And there is a very important place with setting and using screens, the screening game on the offensive end. I would encourage young coaches and coaches everywhere to learn more about Bob Knight's motion offense or the blocker mover system that Dick Bennett, Tony Bennett at the University of Virginia, his father, the blocker mover system, they really broke down these coaching points of their motion offense. Now, again, you can take bits and pieces from Coach Knight, from Coach Bennett, and put it into your game. And this is what we've done, right? We've got kind of the modern era of good ball movement, good teamwork, but we've also got this important action of setting and using screens and emphasizing the details that come along with it. So we have a little bit of old school trying to mix into the new school. Now, it's important that players also understand the difference in shooters. Players can just spot up or players that can run off screens. We were fortunate enough in Hamburg to have a guy, Drew Barham, played at Gonzaga. He may even have played in Romania at some point in his career. But this guy was a skilled wing shooter that could run off screens, catch, and fire. With the Polish national team, we've got one of the best, Adam Wyszynski, again playing in Malaga for his club team. These guys have that ability to read defenses, create advantages, run off screens, catch, and fire. And how many times do you see your players after practice? Yeah, coach, I'm going to get my extra shots up. And it's all spot up repetition, 5-spot shooting. Those are really important shooting drills, right? But when you watch great shooters shoot, they have a routine. So, some of the things you might see them do, I've seen both Drew and Adam set up chairs, and it's multiple cuts into multiple shots so many times. For example, start off on the baseline, they're coming off a pin in, right? They catch and fire. Next ball's coming. They're fading to the corner. Next shot's up. There's their second one. From the corner fade, they're curling off a wide pin, catch and fire. And after that wide pin, maybe they go do the same thing on the other side. Shot after shot after shot after shot. It's not just your traditional 5-spot shooting. They're working on reading the defense, working on the different cuts. And again, they're becoming that shooter that's not just, hey, coach, I'm in the gym getting my shots up. That's great. The reps are great. But you've got to be good in the game. And how do you do that? You make it game-like practice. These shots on the move, these are the ways to do it. So you get your friend, you go, you're working, you're setting up a workout for players. You need a rebounder, you need a passer, you need a couple basketballs, and you really work at it in terms of shots on the move and becoming that next level shooter. I hope you can read this. I recognized too late before I could change it. The screening is the font is not very clear, but it's basically how coaches can use screening to help their team. And I think if you're a coach on the sideline and you're thinking about your offense, most guys will think about the tempo, the transition. Are we playing fast enough? Are we attacking the rim? Are we getting the ball into the post? Are we playing pick and roll situations? Where can we attack? But, I think when you see your team struggling to beat a defense off the dribble consistently, this is the first sign, hey, we need to get some screens in our offensive game. If your guards can't get into the paint and can't beat their defender, the first thing you need to think about is, all right, let's set some screens to create some advantages, right? So now we go to the blast action. Big man's got the ball up top. Here's the wide pin. Now, instead of reading it there, we're creating the advantage on the wide pin blast. He comes into the dribble handoff, and now we're trying to build on that advantage created from the wide pin blast, right? So again, these are little details that you can help your players using screens. Adding physicality to the game. Again, the other team is playing with a lot of energy. excuse me, playing with tremendous emotion, energy, intensity. We want to be physical every possession. Use your physicality. Take space from the other team. Screening helps you do that. Hit them. Make the game physical. Be physical. Add physicality to your game. This is another way coaches can use screening to help their team. Again, you're reading the defense. Are they a pressure team? Are they denying ball reversal? Are they out pressuring the ball handler? Are they influencing in a certain way? Or are they shrinking the floor, playing off, trying to pack the paint? Offensively, coaches need to be thinking, screen, pressure defenses out, away from the basket, right? Back screens, or screen the defenses that sag in, pin them in. And then again, as we say, screening is a great way to occupy the defense, make them defend. Helping players when they're in trouble in terms of you've got a great shooter, the defense is holding him, they got hands all over him, he can't get open. Help your player by setting screens. Hands on the ball handlers, there's ball pressure, it's physical. Help them alleviate this pressure, whether it's front court or back court, by setting screens. Now, we talked a little bit earlier about the whole Bob Knight era of motion, screening, passing, cut. Again, it takes time to learn to read the game together. A lot of coaches don't want to devote that time. And a lot of players just want to play when they have the ball. They don't want to play without the ball. The problem becomes for these Bob Knight era teams, when they are screening and all kinds of different screens and the defense just switches, there's no advantages created from screening. So at that point, this is where we need players with the modern game to be able to break people down off the dribble, create playoff penetration. There's also times where you can occupy the defense, be hard to guard because you've incorporated screening and playing without the ball. So again, some games require more of one thing, screening, setting using screens, setting and using the screens, and other games, if the defense is playing in a certain way, require other things. This is important for a coach to be aware and have a system to know, hey, I can help my guys in this way in this game. So we talk about teamwork, and a lot of times people will talk about teamwork in terms of the ball movement and passing the ball, but screening and using screens creates the opportunity for that ball to be moved. Again, we talked about the unselfish nature of setting screens. For one player to give up his body for his teammate, that says a lot. So we want to encourage the unselfishness. Give up your body on offense. Set a good screen for your teammate. Most people will talk about it on defense. Draw the charge. Be physical. But it's the same thing on offense. Give up your body for your teammate. Give up your body for your team. You can really tell if players on your team like each other. For example, if you've got a guy who is limited, but he can run off that screen, catch and shoot, will the teammates screen for him? Do they like him enough? Do they feel he's unselfish enough that they will set screens to get him open? He needs help to get open. Help your teammate get open with teamwork. The second thing, does your team understand the roles? This is a shooter. We need to get this guy open. I'm a big man. I may want to post up or shoot threes. I may want to do these things, but my role is to set screens to get my teammates open. Helping your team learn to play to their strengths, understanding the roles, and then just the connection amongst the guys. Do they like each other? You can tell a lot about how teams and teammates screen for each other. Now, again, we talked about creating an advantage and building on that advantage. The big thing we know, we want to read the defense. We want to set the screen. We want to have two targets. And the main thing is engage the big, try to create a 2-on-1 advantage, and play off that. So now we talk about this situation here. We see in the picture, the defense is on the offensive guy's back. It's a lock and trail situation, and you can see where he's passing the ball. He's passing the ball to the big man who has stretched out the defense, created an advantage. Teamwork, again, great ball movement on a team happens when big men can make the next pass. So now we've had a guard. He's run off the screen. The big has set it. We've engaged the big. The ball came to the guard. It now moves to the big. What does that big man do with the ball? Does he catch it and hold it? Does he slow down the ball movement, the tempo of the offense, and allow the defense to recover? Or is he smart enough? We've got this advantage. There's two players on this offensive guy, my teammate. I have the ball. Where's the next pass? Where's the next play? That is when great ball movement and teamwork happens on offense. You've created the advantage using the screen. You've made the defense struggle. You've engaged the big. You've stretched them out. And now the ball goes to your big. What happens next? This is really important for teams to really understand how to play together in these situations. So we talk about two targets. Again, this is the main point of emphasis in detailed drill work, let's say in pre-practice breakdown. We'll talk about 2-on-2, 3-on-3, but you've got, let's say, small groups. Right before practice, the way we do it, we have a walkthrough. After the walkthrough, we have, stretching and conditioning for a few minutes, and then we split into two teams. Those two teams can be, let's say red and white or black and white, or they can be mixed small groups, bigs, guards, whatever. The main point when you're breaking down your detailed work, this is where you teach the players how to read the game and create the two targets. So now, as we look, for example, we'll go through some basic screening situations. And you can see we've got three players here on this design. And as we have three players on the design, this could be, let's say, 3-on-3 live, or this could be a controlled drill in pre-practice. But we've got the main action, the pin down screen first. Then we've got the user, the things that we basically teach or would teach young kids trying to read the game for the first time. And the last would be the big men. So these are your options in terms of reading the game and playing together. We've got a basic pin down action. Let's say it can be out of a diamond set or something like this. The 5-man is going to set the down screen again. We're looking a little bit inside the Malone spot here. So as he's setting the down screen, 3 is reading the defense. The main action, the straight cut to catch the ball on the wing, right? That could be a play to enter the offense. If the defender locks and trails him, and again, we'll talk about the defensive concepts a little bit later, but if the defender locks and trails him, now we're curling to the elbow to get the paint touch. And if you look ahead on the pin down, the big man, the third block, if there's a curl, the main action that we'll look at will be step to the dunker spot or stretch the defense. These will be the two things that we try to talk to about the big man reading the guard, how he's using the screen. The other two we have here are the backdoor or the fade. So now the fade, we want to create separation as we're using the screen. So we're reading the defense, but we really want to get separation off of the defender. We want the defender off of our body. So now, if this 3 runs off the screen and the defender is off him, now when he would let through, get through, we say whip the screen. This is the opportunity for 3 to fade. The last point here, okay, let's before we move on, as he's fading, this can be the slip or the post option for the big. And then the last part we have here, the back door. We say reject. If this screen is going to be set and the user 3 cuts back door, does not use the screen, then 5 will now pop, be a target. So now we've got the backdoor pressure to the rim and 5-man pop it out. Again, this is a great opportunity to create advantages. It's not only if your 5-man can shoot, but now you can throw the ball to the 5 and he can make the next pass and he can set an unguarded screen on the ball. So you're able to create advantages off of the reject. So when we break down into drill work, we keep it very simple. Here's your screen. Here's where we want you to set the screen. First thing, 2-on-0, right? He's going to curl. What are you going to do? I'm going to step to the dunker spot or I'm going to stretch it out. He's going to backdoor, reject, right? He fades it. What are we doing? Looking to slip. Okay. So all of these situations that we're working on, show your players 2-on-0, show your players 3-on-0, and then work them through in pre-practice breakdown situations so they can read it together. Same situation goes for the wide pin. Now we've changed the angle out of, let's say, a horn set. 5 is going to set 3 in the corner. He settles the screen again at the Malone spot. This Malone spot, the midpoint, gives us plenty of space. And again, we can cut in any direction and have a chance to play. Same for cutting options: a straight cut, a curl cut, a backdoor, a fade, and the same options for the big. So it's consistent. We're working on curling to the basket, step to the dunker spot, curl to the basket, again, stretch them out, right? Fade, we're looking for a slip or post up. Backdoor, we reject. So again, you're using your team. They're reading the defense, and then they're reading each other as to how they become hard to guard. Engage the big and create the advantage. The key point, 2 targets. Another thing we like to do is set screens at the midline. So this, again, we have the Malone spot we talk about, but you also now have a nail. So now we've got a down screen, and again, we'll get into this in different ways, but we've got a vertical down screen. You can see 5 in the first picture, the vertical down screen. Now he's posting up after the screen. 2's cutting to the top, pressure in the defense. Maybe you've hit 2 and 5 is posted up. You get a high-low right away. But this is also where we like to use our get action. So now the point has the ball in the wing. 5 down screens 2. 2 catches the ball. He's got an advantage because there's been a screen set. And now we can turn around and rescreen with pick and roll, right? So this would be an example of get. We've also got the same thing with the vertical back screen. So now here's 2, right on the midline, setting that back screen. Again, you want this player to receive the ball at the rim. Our back is to the rim. We set the screen. And again, if you as a guard are able to set a great back screen, that's one of the easiest and best ways to get yourself open, right? The shooter sets a screen for the 5. That puts the defender in a tough spot. What is he going to do? Is he going to help with the 5-man diving to the rim? If that happens, you've got some space to maybe catch and shoot or make a play. Or if he stays, maybe your back screen gets 5 open at the basket. The next thing we like to do, we talk about playing together. Same thing from the wide pin or pin down. The 2-man can curl this at the nail. And again, this becomes the next point. If he curls hard, maybe 5 stays in. 5, if he's a shooting 5, he's got an opportunity to catch and shoot. If not, when X5, the defender helps on the curl, now the next pass becomes an unguarded screening situation or unguarded dribble handoff situation. Your offense now has an advantage. The back screens that we like to use in our offense, both in Poland and Hamburg, include the flex cut on the baseline, the UCLA back screen, and what we call a hawk cut or a diagonal screen. These are 3 of the back screens that we use, and we will practice these situations both 5-on-5 and in other ways as well throughout the season. Again, the flex cut, great way to get perimeters open in the post up a wing. Great way to kind of make the low post defender guard before a post up situation happens. And again, the continuity flex, I think almost every team runs different bits and pieces of it. The UCLA, again, same situation. You can post guards off of these situations. You can also turn around and rescreen, get into a lot of different things. And we like to do a lot of different hawk cut actions. Again, whether it's post a perimeter player or get into different types of screening there. These would be the 3 back screens that we identify the most in our offense that we like to use and try to get really good at. Double screen situations, again, our team here in Hamburg was really good at one of our plays with consecutive double screens. You'll see this later in the video session, video clips that we've got. But what we try to do for the bigs, we try to give them a target on the floor and a specific responsibility. The way we set screens with these doubles, the first screener is the headhunter. So he is not necessarily going to set on a specific spot. He's going to find that defender and go get him. So he's running up and he's going to get a good angle on that defender and settle his screen with a good jump stop. While he's setting that screen as the headhunter, the cleanup guy, the second screener, is really just kind of finding a spot. So if we want our shooter to receive the ball at the top of the key, we want him to set that screen just above the elbow inside the three-point line. So now, the main point here, if the headhunter does a good job, that's created the advantage. The pressure will be responded to by the defender or the cleanup guy. So let's say X5 sees the two-man defender get hung up. As he's hung up, X5 is going to react. And now this is where we create the advantage situation, right? If X5 is there, now we've got two. The second big can slip. We've got all kinds of possibilities that open up because we've done a good job as the headhunter and really got a good spot to read the defense and read that second defender. The same thing on the baseline, stagger double. Again, we try to give these guys spots on the floor, so like the Malone spot or the nail. Now in these baseline staggered double, we're talking about setting the first screen at the block and the second screen at the Malone spot. Again, after the first screener sets the screen, he flashed back to the elbow. And then this Malone spot, if this shooter is coming off there hard and 5 really steps to him, this is a great opportunity for a slip to the basket. Setting the screen at the Malone spot gives you that space and pressure on the defense. The last part of the double would be the stagger split. And as we get into the stagger split situation, this is, what Doc Rivers would call playing the game. This is where you've got to allow players to have the freedom to really just read the defense and play. So now we've got it drawn up with 3. We're just curling to the basket, and now 2 coming off the screen. This can also be 3 kind of pins in for 2 curls to the basket, and 3 comes up to the top. So again, these stagger split situations can be really hard to guard and can give your team the freedom to really read the defense and create advantages. The last part we talk about here for offensive screening, Denver. And Denver is just simple terminology. Your team will have different terminology and have different situations. But in the game, we don't want things to be long and drawn out. And obviously, every country has different language. And sometimes a word or an expression may be longer in one language than another. But in this situation, screen the screener. Instead of being able to say, screen the screener in a game. Hey, fellas, 2, screen the screener. 2, screen the screener. Instead of wasting time with screen the screener, make it a simple word. 2 Denver, whatever that would be. So the point is, screen the screener situations would be a Denver call. As soon as people hear Denver, they understand it's the screener circumstances that are going to happen. So now we've got basic screen the screener action. Again, hard to guard. As we set a good screen for our teammate to get open in the post, now we're receiving a screen. The better job we do screening, the better chance we have to get open. And again, in these last 2 blocks, we see 5 bumping the cut to the rim, a ghost screen where a really good shooter is pretending to set the screen. And right as it's going to happen, boom, he's out of there before the screen happens. And then we also have the slip option for the 4-man. The last point we have, when the ball goes into the post, obviously we can do the same concept of the curl pop, stretch out the defense with 2 targets as we get into those situations. So these would be some of the basic concepts of screening that we try to incorporate in our offense and drill work. Now, whether you're an experienced team, high-level team, or you're a youth team, again, the importance of practice and working on things. The main thing here, we've just looked at the pin down, the wide pin down, back screen, flare screens, hawk cut, whatever you want to play. But I think it's a great opportunity to really control the action in terms of a 3-on-3 live. All right, 3-on-3-on-3. So you've got 3 teams, and they're just attacking each other as they go. The classic 3-on-3-on-3. But now you're controlling it. Okay, now your shots are coming off pin downs. So now this team is attacking this team. We're attacking pin downs. We're defending pin downs. Then you change it up after a few reps, back screens, whatever screening you want to have happen. So then when you need to work on your doubles or your stagger splits or your screen to screener Denver, now the coach can step on the floor We can have one coach at this end, one coach at this end. And basically you're going through your 3-on-3 situations, a staggered double, a baseline staggered double, a stagger split, a screen the screener, and you're giving these guys a chance to practice reading the defense, reading the game, setting screens, creating their advantages. In terms of a team setting, in terms of screening and using your set plays, a good thing to do can be half court cutthroat. And if that's basically nothing more than make it, take it. So again, the 3-on-3-on-3, 5-on-5-on-5, you've got a team waiting to come on, make it, take it. So your coach calls the play, whatever play they're running, we're running this play. You're running this play, you're guarding this play, and we're just playing 5-on-5-on-5 half court situation. With the point of emphasis, we're really concentrating on screening. You could even be like, if you're not satisfied with the screening effort or using the screen, blow the whistle, turnover, next team's on. So these type of coaching points can all be really incorporated for whether it's a high-level team or a youth team. Again, the pre-practice breakdown action, 2-on-2 screening, great way to get guys warmed up, great way to get guys working together, locked in for practice. And again, the same thing like we talked about, 2-on-2, 3-on-3, the pre-practice detail time, focusing in on screening. So as we go, but now we'll kind of shift gears and we'll talk about defending screens. And the things that we try to really concentrate on, the teaching points and coaching points at defensive work, we spend a lot of time with defensive walkthroughs. So we will start 95% of our practices with a 15-minute defensive walkthrough. I think this really does a great job of emphasizing the importance of team defense, and it allows you to get repetitions for these guys so that they can be coached on the court, walk it through, and learn it, right? So we'll look at several of our Polish national team and Hamburg Towers detailed breakdowns of defending screen situations. Our team defensive concept has 40 situations for walkthrough. And I would encourage all coaches to look at your team defense, look at Can you hear me now? I just want to tell everybody what a fantastic job Alan just did in tracking me down and help me understand what was going on. Alan, fantastic. Really unbelievable. Thank you. Thank you. So it's all good. It's all good. Let's share the screen again. Okay. All right. And I will get us back to where we need to be. Apologize about this. We'll start it again. Okay. So we'll go back here. Okay. So again, we talked about the important points of defending screens and where we like to do the coaching points. The main coaching points happen in walkthroughs and breakdown drills, and we try to build up the habits of how we guard off the ball. And in this picture, we have a former Hamburg Towers player, Scooty Guyton, doing a fantastic job of a couple things. He's staying connected with his offensive player, and he's knifing through the screen. So we would say this is lock and trail, and he's really working hard to beat the screen and be on time. One of the main coaching points that we talked about is getting into the body. And here we see the really good offensive player, Drew Barham, who could really run off screens, catch and shoot. Here he is defensively, get into the body. It's an end line inbounds play, and he's connected. He's in a stance. He's ready to guard. Again, he's really working hard. The key is we get into the body, stay connected, and no separation. These are important coaching points for our game plan. Now, as we see here, catch and shoot defense, the main point here, this is from a couple years ago, but the main points are catch and shoot, still the same. When you're in your defensive stance and the ball would go away from you, we want you to pull in and be in help position. When the ball goes towards you, comes towards you, we want you to inch out and get out into the passing lane. And we talk about getting into the body. What does that mean? A couple points. We want you to be nose to chest, play lower than the offensive player, and direct the cutter one way. Now, the main point here for the big man, we say, give this guy 2 alleys. We want him to be ready to go through let through, get through, or lock and trail. So the big is in like a zero coverage, just off with no slip situation. Now, the guard will get into the body, stay connected, no separation, and we say it's his choice. He can lock and trail and then square up the ball, or he could try to whip it and square up the ball. The point about a whip, let through, get through, we want him to whip the screen, him or her, whip the screen at the point of the screen. If you whip the screen, let through, get through too early, now you're giving the offense an opportunity to fade and create an advantage. Now, again, we say on time at the point of the screen. This is the key coaching point as you're working with guys in practice. The next line, we do not accept being screened. It's not okay to run, oh, coach, I got hit, I'm screened. You've got to beat the screen. It is unacceptable to be screened when you're guarding. And the best players, the best off-ball defenders or catch-and-shoot defenders, they're going to find ways to, twist their body, angle their body, and beat screens. The next point, on the catch, we want guards or wings to square up the ball on the catch. If there's a curl into the scoring area, we say team defense, 6 hands on the ball. So we stunt from the pass from the top. This would be X1 on the picture. The second point, we stunt from the big. And a lot of coaches say just step straight up the lane line. And then from the closeout defender as he's working to square him up. Pull the trigger, post X, veer back emergency switch. These are a little more high-level concepts and team defensive concepts. Now we look at defending the wide pin. Again, this can be a challenge because a lot of times, if it's not a great shooter you're playing against, you're going to be in help position. So you're starting at a disadvantage. You're not on the body here. You've got to be alert and you've got to work. If in some cases, coaches would say, no help, stay connected, right? But a lot of teams will say, okay, you've got basic help, but here's your coverage. Wide pin situation, get into the body, knife through, and ride through. This is what we saw the picture of Scooty as we introduced everything. Again, we do not accept getting screened. Let through, get through, whip situation is the middle one, or is the first one, lock and trail, and then top lock. Again, if you're playing with a great shooter who's not really a finisher, he's just really catch and shoot guy, you could try to deny him from using the screen, force him backdoor, and go through there. So you have some coaching points of different ways, different coverages to guard the wide pin. Again, the staggered double, we talked about the headhunter, we talked about the cleanup guy, but now we're talking about how we defend it as a team defense. The first thing we, again, want to try to get into the body as best we can. If possible, it's best to lock and trail that first screen. It may not be possible because of your help team defensive position, but for us, it's really important to whip this point of the second screen because that prevents any type of curl, right? Again, a lot of teams will get out and pressure and deny, get out in the passing lane. We say X5, we want you to be in a flat hedge, plug, take away the slip, right? You're ready to guard. X1, again, with stunt from the pass, and X4, the bottom man guarding the headhunter, he's guarding 2 for 2. So he's guarding both big men for 2 seconds. 2 for 2, and we recover. Again, big thing for X2, as he's guarding 2, really work hard, beat screens, stay connected, square up the ball. Defending Denver, again, screen the screener situation. Big thing for us is we will try to direct the ball at the point to the middle because it's an empty corner situation. We will have the guarding the shooter, in this case it's X3, he will get chest to back, and he's not a bump guy unless it's an elite post scorer. If it's an elite post scorer, we'll bump him. We want X5 to get into the body and ride him through the screen. You can direct him high, direct him low, depending on what you want, but you're not just riding him through and stopping. Ride him through and try to deny position. Push him off the block, get into your 3/4 deny front, whatever coverage you want to play in the low post. But now as X3 has been hugging his man chest to back, when X4 is defending the down screen, we call it mucking up the lane. He's big, he's long, he's making it appear crowded. There's no passing lanes open. And now we say, again, whip that down screen so that we can eliminate any chance of a curl. We have a better chance to square up the ball. We call it a Loyola switch, the backside switch. Some people call it a side switch, X switch, whatever. We call it a Loyola switch. On the cross screen, when you're hugging him chest to back, if your coach says, hey, bump him at the screen, so you stay connected, bump the big man at the screen, you may get hung up. If he gets hung up, X2 is ready to switch on the backside and take him going up top. And again, we see in the list here, we do not accept being screened. The last screen we'll take a look at here, the flex action. Again, it's important, ball pressure at the elbows. When you're pressuring the ball, all over him at the elbow. If you're not pressuring the ball big, you're at the nail. Get into the body, ride over the flex cut. Again, do not accept being screened. We try to whip the down screens and square up as best we can to eliminate any chance of a curl to the basket. Again, team defense, stunting, being active, mucking it up, being in the right position in terms of staying connected, all of these details. These are the points of emphasis as you go through your walkthrough with your team. Now, what I'd like to do is break away, before we get into question and answer, I'd like to break away from the PowerPoint and get into a short video that my assistant here in Hamburg, Austin Rowland, did a great job putting this together. This is from Hamburg Towers, some clips of some good screening situations, bad screening situations, so that you can kind of get a really, hey, this is a realistic view of you know, how it looks. Okay, so the first thing we have, some off-ball screening. First thing we're going to go through is blast. So again, we enter the ball to the wing. You can see we've got double X cut. The ball comes to the top. And now what we want you to do is look at, here's the player we're going to get receiving the ball, and here's the screen. So watch how the advantage will be created. Again, not much ball pressure on our 5 at the top. Oh, we cannot see the video, huh? Let's go back here. I got it. There we go. Thank you very much. I was all excited about it. Okay, so let's go back to the beginning. We all good now? All right. Alan, thank you very much. That's assist number 2. Okay, so as we here are running the off the ball screens, you see the blast action. So we enter to the wing. We've got a 2-guard front, X cuts, 5-man pops. You see there's not much pressure on the 5. This player will receive the dribble handoff, and this player will screen to create the advantage. You can see this is one of our better shooters, and look at the body. He's getting into the body defensively. So here he comes. Again, not a whole lot of contact made with the screen, but he forced him wide. And now we've got a 5-man trying to contain and a late guard. Watch the result. The 4-man will stay in on the diver, and it gets the original screener wide open. 3. Let's look at it again. Again, strong ball pressure, pressuring our guard. Give him an advantage. There's the advantage. Confusion, open 3. Again, same situation. All right, same play with different players. All right, again, there's the advantage. And now into the big man. Same play, players are reading the game. Other guard goes up. He's curled it, engaged the big, easy drop off. Same situation with blast. X cut, again, some players out of position. Again, this is one of the bad examples that we have. We've got players out of position to start. And as we go, we try to correct it, but you can see there's no screening being set here. Again, no screen. He still went in, created a little bit of an advantage because Jorge faded and hits the 3. Now we go into double stagger action. Again, you can see we got double drag into the screen. And this is a really good example of a headhunter and a cleanup guy. All right, here's the double drag. First one, you can see number 5, Bo Beach, goes as the headhunter. He's going to get a good screen set. And the second screener, Marvin Ogensight, is the cleanup guy. And again, you can see the amount of space that's created here. This is a big advantage for our shooter coming off. Their defender, number 22 at the nail, is put in a really tough spot. And again, one of our good shooters, Yannick Frank, came off and hit it. We'll take a look again. You'll see there's a couple different plays. First screen, advantage, open shot. Same situation, double drag. Here's a stagger. Not really well screened, defended. But now he keeps the ball, and you can see we've got really good screening here, double screen on the backside. Bo sets a really good screen. They are forced to switch, and our shooter, Yannick Frank, gets to the basket. Again, poor screening. Now we're not executing really the way we want to. We would prefer Bo goes to get him. You can see he's being hugged, the shooter. And now here's the first screen. Good screen. Defender falls, emergency switch, get to the rim. Again, same situation, different look. First screen, coming off, wide open. Now, we've set those screens for a couple times. Now we think the defense thinks we're coming off the stagger double, and now we pin in for the shooting 4. Again, we did not talk much about the shuffle cut stagger, but we see here the 5 screens, shuffle cut through. Here comes a stagger out. Again, he chases, and what we have is 2 targets. And as we get the 2 targets, defense goes, both the guard and the big are engaged. And as they're engaged, we've got our second target stretching it out. He follows with an easy drive down the lane for the bucket. Pin down situation. Again, you see, same thing. Jorge, very smart player, reads the game well, bumps the cut, So here he goes. He reads it. Defense is caught in. Yannick Freeze adjusts his screen. Open shot. It takes that much. End line inbound situations, again, you're going to see here. We've got a stack, a cut, and now wide open three. Pin down situation again. Enter it. Top, and you see 5 screening in. Fade as the defender went in, creates the space. Open shot. Again, same situation here. This is another really good read from the team. So this is not our base play. The base action would have a staggered double for the shooter, in this case, Heiko Schwarze coming off the double, but he'll curl it to the basket and watch Alba Berlin adjust. They curl, and now Yannick Freeze, 13, adjusts his screen, and now our big man pops wide open. Players reading the game together. Now we'll shift to the defensive side, defending the off-ball screens, blast action. Again, we want to make sure that we eliminate this separation as best we can. If he is a lock and trail, this has to be a flat show on the backside. You can see Heiko is working hard to catch up, to be on time. Watch Yannick Freeze do a good job here, the defender. Contest, and Heiko squares up the ball. Again, on time, turnover. Let's look at it again. You can see the defensive effort, full speed, stunt, contest, good challenge, good stick hand, contest, active hands, turnover. Defending blast again. Again, same thing. Heiko came off. And you see, big point here. All right, we have the separation. You can see our defender, in this case, Prince. He's again flat. He's going to contest. The challenge here, right? We challenge it, but we're at a rebound disadvantage. Thankfully, Bo Beach grabs the rebound. Again, we have staying connected on the blast action. Take a look on this one. Again, Heiko working really hard. He's got some separation. He's got some ground to make up. All right. He squares them up. Active hands. You can see Heiko is late. Our teammate rotates. Yannick Frank rotates to help. And we're active in team defense. Straight up. Again, shot clock is running down. Really good activity from our team here. Now we talk about defending floppy, the catch and shoot situation. So now again, take a look. We want to have guys on the body and bigs giving them space. Heiko working hard, Jorge working hard, Yannick Frank working hard on the ball. Now again, let's take a look here under the basket. You can see trying to get into the body, trying to stay connected. We want to try to force the cut one way against floppy in catch and shoot defense. And again, really good job. He's forced the catch out of the scoring territory because he's worked really hard. Side pick and roll, ice coverage, good team defense. Late clock switch. Contest. Shot clock runs out. Again, same situation. Notice the difference this time to the last one. The last one, Heiko started on his body. He was connected. There was no separation. And now take a look here. He's off the body. Really good shooter. Thomas Kleipaz from Austria national team came off and fires it. So again, this all starts at the point of attack. Defensively, we want him to get into his body, stay connected, and force the cut one way. Now he's off his body. Offense has the advantage. Now we're late. We can't recover. 3. Again, next example of a mistake. Bad defense here. We want to stay connected and be more physical. So again, you see our defender wiping his shoes, Yannick Frank in the corner. Here comes the wide pin. He's going whatever way he wants to go. And again, we're not trying to impact the cut at all defensively. This is really good offense from Alba Berlin, right? Take a look. You're not going to guard me. Cut backdoor, set you up. Good screen, advantage, open shot. And again, let's look at it from a defensive side. We want him to get into the body with the screen, control it, be physical, force it one way, and then square up the ball on the catch. Next points we have here, defending pin downs and flares. Again, square up. Here's the flare. Good defense. Shot clock goes down. Rebound. Now we're not connected. Take a look. This is a really good example of whipping at the point of the screen. So we're looking here in the corner. Our defender, Michael Carrera against Alba Berlin. Here's the play. Again, we see this is an unnecessary whip. There's no reason for him to whip here because all you've done is give this guy offensive space. Again, let's see if we can go back just a split second here. Here we go. Here's the play. I'll try to stop it right at the right point. Right now, there's no reason for him to go under this screen, right? It's not like the guy's coming down and got a great angle on you. You're giving this guy a wide open three. So now, the main point. Lock and trail, make your decision to stay connected, knife through and square up, or whip at the point of the screen. Here is a perfect example of an unnecessary whip, which opens up the three-point line. And that's all it takes. Again, stay connected, be physical against the flare. As we see, again, here's the screen. We beat the first one. We did a great job on the pin down. And now here's the rescreen. We're not connected, all right? He whipped it, and now we slip, open three. See the bald man, weak side flare screen situation? So again, we have a situation here with Carrera guarding on the perimeter. Again, not concentrated on his man. This is one of the best three-point shooters in the league. We're standing on the block, all right? We're not executing our defensive game plan. All right, now it's late. I'm going to come up. I'm at the nail, and he just walked right into the screen. Wide open three. Defending the slip to the wide pin. So again, take a look here. Our low man is not in position right here, which would be this guy, number 6 in the corner. He's rotating over, but we can see the excellent recovery athleticism of Carrera to go straight up and challenge. Couple plays defending flex action, beating the screen. Again, great job there defensively. They are forced to just drive late clock. Again, let's take a look. Watch the low point here in the corner. Number 8, defending our guy, Tavon Walker. He just goes right through the screen, eliminates the opportunity. Now they're confused. Late clock going down, try to drive. Defensive stop. Defending flex action again. Again, they try to duck in. Really good help from Prince. Challenge, recovery. Multiple effort defense. Let's take a look. Again, we don't want this to be a switch. Some coaches will say switch guard to guard in this situation. We want to keep 21 out of the post-up situation, so we're not allowing Justus and Tavon to switch. Ball goes in to the wing. He's posting. Tavon's guarding, physical. Look at Prince's activity, number 1, right here. All right? Active, takes away the drive, and now multiple effort. Defensive shot block, great defense. Stay connected against the flex bump. And this is just a really high-level offensive play right here. As we see, look at this. He gets in the body. We got him where we want him. He creates a little separation, but that's good defense. He's fighting through. Tough shot. tip your cap to the offense in that case. Now we've got a couple other actions just here. Last 50 seconds. America's play, cross screen, double screen. Again, trying to run a little back cut, back screen. Split action, the low split in the corner. Again, we're not a switch team. Really good job taking away the penetration. Defending get. There's the screen into the rescreen. We want to try to direct the ball. No reject situation. Send him into the screen. Good defensive rebound. End line stagger double. Again, same concepts apply. Beat screens, square up the ball, be there on the catch. And there we have it. So let me stop this and go right back. Okay. At this point, let's go. Do we have any questions? All right. Can you hear me? Sorry about that. I don't know what happened as we shut down the video there. So what could you read out the questions for us? Yes. So when defenses switch, these are the type of situations where you want to try to have a game plan of how do you handle switches. Now, I think most teams would be using a perimeter attack, let's say like the old boomerang pass, like a guard passes to the first player away, throws it back, and you attack off the dribble, attack the closeout of the big, or you're trying to post up a big man. But in terms of creating advantages off of the screening, I think any type of situation where you can set up slips within your offense, slip screens. And an example of this, you have a really good shooter who teams are going to respect. They want to switch those screens. Well, this is one of the points of putting your screen at the Malone spot, because if he's coming off of there and they're trying to switch it, then boom, your big man can just post up against that, let's say, smaller perimeter player and create that post up advantage mismatch that you want, right? So I think any of these screens where you can create slip situations, or where you're curling to the basket and popping to stretch them out. I think you want to try to have those two targets at all times. And then in those switching situations, really have your team prepared to attack mismatches. Well, I think that, you know, creating isolations and spacing for good one-on-one guys uh, is, it's a part of what you're trying to do. And what we like to do is, and again, this was something we were not very good at with the towers. It comes a little bit easier with Poland because of the players that you're dealing with. But I think that you try to create those isolations from within your offense, right? So whatever type of screening situations you have within your offense, it's great if you can, let's say you have like a slice cut or a shuffle cut coming through. And as you have that slice cut, you run it and run it and run it. Well, one time you have a play where you say hold, and the slice cut bumps it, it stays on the side. You swing it to the backside perimeter, and he's got the whole side cleared. So the point would be try to look at your offense, what type of screens you have in your offense, and after that, build in these isolations for your one-on-one players because that's harder to guard for the defense. They think one of your basic actions is coming, and all of a sudden it turns into an isolation for one of your good players. I think that when you're teaching young players, you should try to keep the game as simple as possible and give them basic structure. But I think the important points for young players are to learn to read the game and cooperate with other players on the court. So these 2-on-2 screening, whether it's a simple wide pin, whether it's a simple pin down, whether it's a simple back screen, I think learning to read the game. Hey, my teammate is going to read the defense. He's going to cut like this. Then I can become dangerous offensively if I, cut here or if I pop like this, right? So recognizing those situations within the game, reading the game, and keeping it simple. So I think those would be the most important things. You don't want to overload the young players, right? So you're either going to face pressure defense or teams that are not pressuring you. So this is the point. Have screens built in your offense where you can screen defenses in that sag that are not pressuring, that are packing the paint, and have back screens and screens that screen you out against the teams that pressure you. Keeping things at the bare basics, but helping the players learn to read the game. I think that's the important thing for youth coaches. In terms of my offensive system, we have, I define it in you've got your transition game, your tempo, how fast you're going to play. And what we like to do, we like to attack early and give the players freedom to play together and create together. So we'll have a lot of quick hitter actions and then time on the shot clock to play. Second thing, we have pick and roll game, post game, and screen game. So this exact topic that we have is a big part of our offense. We have a variety of screens. And again, when you look at your roster, you look at your team each year, every team is different. Every team is going to be good at one thing or not so good at another thing. And I think, what we've done with the Polish national team to develop is we've really established a system. We're doing the same things in Hamburg. And I think that your players will naturally do certain things well. And when you find out what these things are, you emphasize them, you highlight them. So when we have a guy in Poland like Adam Wacinski, who is fantastic reading the defense, running off screens, catch and shoot, you use different screens to try to play to that strength. Same thing like last year with Drew Barham here in Hamburg. If you have other players that are good at other things, you kind of highlight those. So I think as a coach, you emphasize what your team is good at. And when your team is good at playing off screens, then I think you focus on that. Alan, I appreciate your help here with some of the uh, you know the glitches we had. So I appreciate you getting things back on track. and guiding us home here. So thank you very much. And I really hope that some coaches can, learn one or two things and get their mind thinking as they think about next year and what's happening